Okay, hi, and welcome to our second of our super special Q&As, which takes a deep dive into the $50,000 challenge. And wow, I can see a whole bunch of activity and portfolios being launched already. Let me share my screen here because I want to just share that we're actually just posting live on here. Do please post hi, where are you in the world? And then do post whatever questions are coming up as we go. I am going to give a little bit of an intro for those who might be joining us for the first time. We actually posted yesterday a whole kind of like a Q&A that was happening for the session that we ran. And everything we're doing, we're actually running on our Genius 5.0 Startup Entrepreneurs Facebook group, where you can actually see here. We actually ran today our session on cryptocurrencies. We've got a whole bunch of comments and people posting in here. And we also have got the ones from previous days, where yesterday we were with Mark Robinson, and the day before was when we actually launched all of this. And we actually went through the whole investment pyramid. How do you actually make sure you're actually making sense of cryptocurrencies? And let me give you, before we get into the questions, just a very quick whistle-stop tour of what we have covered so far. So on the very first day, we covered, well, first of all, the prizes, which are going to be all awarded at the end of this week. What we were going to go through on the 5 days, which was how you actually go about creating an Investor 5.0 strategy, and then everything from stocks and shares, cryptocurrencies, commodities, property investment, which is tomorrow, and then how you build an entire investment portfolio, the entire top 5 investment trends, which is on the session yesterday, together with the 8 criteria investors. And if we've got anyone in the team that's got a link to the Facebook page, just drop it in here as well, right? This is a totally free program. We've got 20,000 who have booked in, and we've got thousands each day who kind of come and join us or are joining us. And this here is a basic template for the actual portfolio plan, where we have already explained that we are in this massive shift that's taking place on investing right now. And we actually also have gone through just how much impact investing, which is when you do something that really makes a difference, how much this is critical to the pathway. So the actual template, which is all on here, and this is all part of Genius U, which is our platform. When you actually click and go in here, it will take you to the curriculum pages. It can take you straight to the challenge, which is on here. And then the actual challenge itself, which is here, has got all the links to the groups. We're now on the next day. You can see here already, this was like yesterday's recording. And then the link to the download, right? And the download is this template, which you then basically make your own. In this template here, we have got how you make sure you're clear on what your future vision is. I got an example of my future vision, which is where I see myself 5 years from now. It then goes through exactly how you design your ideal persona of who you are in terms of your purpose, your profile, and we give you links to all of the tests, purpose test, passion test, genius test, because you have to have a portfolio that links to that. And then we also go through the exponential waves. And we covered all the exponential waves, including one thing one of you asked already, which is how do I get to the Ark Invest white paper? So you would have seen this if you're on the call today, that basically Ark Invest, which is run by Cathie Wood, which is by far the most progressive of the ETFs in terms of actually what are the big trends coming. This goes through what the 3 major trends are that are taking place right now. DNA, which is medtech, blockchain, which is fintech, AI, which is edtech, and then robotics, energy storage, which is green tech, right? Like these are the big techs that are coming. And this is going into the detail, showing what every one of the technologies in the past, whether it's TV, electricity, what it did to make a disruption. And then it then goes through what's going on right now. 5 platforms, 14 technologies. These are all of them here. Blockchain, frictionless value transfer, which is what we're talking about here, autonomous mobility, battery systems, etc. And how each one of these, it goes through the time frame for them. And this is basically showing the old graph I showed you, and then basically how big these are. $10 trillion in size now, going up to 50 trillion. This is not the beginning of a bubble, right? This is the beginning of a massive wave of new $1 trillion businesses that is being built right now. And obviously, you know, Ark Investors already got an ETF for each of these different areas, which we went through as well. And I'll tell you more about that as we go. But this link, I am going to just drop this in and I'll just post it so you got it here. Here's the link. Here we go. Here's the link in case you missed it earlier, right? So you can actually go straight to that PDF as well as we go. All right. Now, on top of that, we also have got how you set your criteria, which we added in today. And I've showed my criteria for Hamilton Foundation investments, what I see myself doing in the next 5 years with my family, and how much of this is divided between the impact sector, early stage investments, and then how the rest is between foundation assets, wholesale assets. And something like cryptocurrency actually links into these different areas. So you will know if you've been on our session so far, we've gone through all of the different waves. We've also explained exactly what is going on in terms of these waves and how big they're going to get, and how you cannot be going asset by asset. Do not just be thinking about blockchain in terms of Bitcoin or Ethereum, or thinking about shares in terms of Tesla or GameStop. Like, think of this from the point of view of a portfolio, and not the old portfolio designed by assets, but now portfolios designed for performance. So cryptocurrency actually sits down the bottom in foundation assets as something like Bitcoin, just like gold, you're going to hold for the long term. But it also sits right up the top when it comes to be able to, active trading, if you're going to trade cryptocurrency, early stage investing, if you're going to get into ICOs. Each of these really important to be thinking differently. It's not about the asset. It's about how are the different ways of performing within that asset, how they taking place. And that's like a really, really important distinction, because you have to treat not an asset differently. You need to treat your performance indicators differently. How you design that into a portfolio template we showed you as well. And then today we had Marcus go through with his cryptocurrency platform exactly, how you go about, first of all, getting started. What are the crypto exchanges to go for? We got some questions around this. What are the 5 strategies for trading, whether it's crypto cost averaging, contrarian momentum, dividends, startup, and so on. So we're going to jump right into those right now. But that's all in here. So do get the links to these slides, which are all basically in here as well. Just follow the link and you'll be there. And we also broke that down to say you might go for a high growth strategy, you might go for a momentum strategy, or you might go for a cash hedging strategy, which basically means as US dollar goes down, you're going to be fine, but you don't need to basically be going for super high growth, and what each of those look like, right? So I'm going for a high growth strategy myself. We're going to give everyone an opportunity on this call to also go through what is your growth, what are you aiming to do? Are you aiming to go for high active momentum trading, where you're going to be trading the market up and down? Are you more interested in basically Warren Buffett on steroids, right? Like value investing, but in the right kind of assets which are going to grow like crazy, which includes obviously digital assets like NFTs and cryptocurrencies. And what's really important here, and do post that down into the comments, right? So we have that too. I'm going to have a quick look at the comments to see what's going on here. Wow. Okay. Lots of comments already. All right. Good to see everyone here. We've got Dennis from Chicago. We've got, wow, Andy's in Ibiza. Nice. All right. We've got Guy in Thailand. We've got Lawrence in Arizona. We've got Ido here, Burgundy, France, London, Atlanta, Greek islands. Oh, wow. That's nice. That's Peter here. We've got Philippines, Slovakia. All right. We've got the world here. All right. Good to see everyone here. Fabulous. We've got Chandra here who says, thanks for the ARK link, Roger. Do you know of any similar fund ETFs that are UK registered? Okay, that's one of the questions, right? I'm going to share about that because I was talking about the ETFs for ARK, which obviously if you're a US citizen or if you've got a US broker, you can just go on and just like search, the ARK ETFs, you'll find them all, they're all there. There's 5 in total. And you can basically just trade in them. But if you are in Europe, Europe's such a weird place. You've actually got at the moment the European Union just choosing, because they want to keep the money in Europe, I think, to basically kind of outlaw effectively a whole bunch of different trading securities in America, which actually happens to include ETFs like our ETFs. So actually you're not allowed to use a European broker or European brokerage account to trade ETFs right now, believe it or not, right? So what can you do instead, right? So that was one of the questions we had. Here, I'll actually share with you because this is actually a good little tip for those of you who are in that situation right now. So let me just grab the link that I believe I have here somewhere. Where did I put it? Where did I put it? Okay, here it is. Okay, so oh, and by the way, there's a second white paper which is where we were talking about the valuation of Ether and of Bitcoin coming up, right? So this basically here, I dropped a link in as well. This is the crypto research report which came out middle of last year. I share, and it's all around Irving's Fisher's equation of exchange, which I explained yesterday, is basically the monetary theory of inflation, where you've got 3 indicators of inflation or levels of inflation, which are going to come from money supply. They're going to come from the speed of money flow, and they're also going to come from the production in the economy. And this actually goes through and works through those and says what's going to happen with the digital economy and what this is likely to mean. And I think it was on page 31. They already give the results of the equations, where this was like when Bitcoin was at $9,000, and now, and it said they were going to be up to 19,000 by the end of the year. It's obviously a lot higher than that now, and they're 340,000 by 2025. So we're actually way ahead of the schedule at the moment. Ether was going to go from 200 up to 331 by the end of the year. Obviously, it's at 1800, so like it went up a lot faster. But that was because the adoption so much faster by institutions, right? That happened. But it just is accelerating towards where it's going right now. But this is like a really good white paper as well. So I'm going to drop this in here too. But to the point about what you can do if you are in Europe right now. This is a good little link, right? I'm gonna drop this link with you. It's from Europor, which is just like an investment site, and it basically says, okay, here's your options. If you are in Europe and you want to actually trade Ark's ETFs, a couple of ways you can do it. First of all, get a US-based broker. There's a number of different ways you can do that, but obviously, if you have a US-based broker with a brokerage account in the US, then of course you can do it, right? So that's the first thing you can do. Or have a friend in the US, right? You can do it that way. The second way is that you can actually replicate it yourself. It's not that difficult, right? At the moment, like, it's actually, they're explained here and they kind of explain how to do it. But look, the good thing about ETFs is they show you everything about how they work. So if I go to Ark Funds, and let's say, for example, you say, okay, I like the idea of next generation internet. That's what I want to be a part of, right? So you just click on that, right? So this is on the Ark Funds site. It shows you what the ticker is, right? It shows you the fund type. It shows you what they're investing in and why, which is basically the metaverse, right? The future of the internet. It shows you, hey, it went down. It's kind of like it's bumping along here at the moment, but it's going to be for sure going up again because the market's basically self-correcting and going back up. And you can see over 1 year how it's done. You can see since it started how it's done. So I mean, like these are all the exponential technologies going from 10 trillion to 50 trillion. When it goes to that size, of course, this is going to do well. But here's the point. The point is, it's a finite number of holdings. There's 10. There are others, but these are the top 10. You can see the top 10. You can see the current market price. You can see how many shares they're holding. So you can just put this in a spreadsheet and actually work out for yourself what percentage is in here. And whether you want to do 1,000, 10,000, just replicate it. Just go out and buy these shares separately and just follow along, right? Because that's, by the way, that's what I'm doing, right? I'm able to invest in the ETF itself, but I don't want to pay the 0.75% fee, and I'm happier to actually. I don't actually like all of these as well. There's some I like, there's some I don't like. I think Zoom's overpriced, for example, but there's other ones like Teladoc, which is doing really well. Square, I've actually doubled the amount on that. Tesla, I've doubled the amount on that as well. Grayscale is this is kind of funny. An investment in an investment fund. Grayscale is one of the biggest investment funds that actually has gone all in on Bitcoin recently as well. But yeah, you can actually just replicate it without having to get overly dramatic about it. So do think about that. And then let me just jump into some of the questions here first that already came on the Facebook group. Then I will come to the questions that you're asking on the YouTube channel as well, right? I'm going to do a quick fire because yesterday I was on for a bit longer because we probably spent too long answering all the questions. So here we go, right? So the first question I have here, it was actually about investing in Europe. That was from Marcel that he asked that question. Here's another question. A question from Carrier says, so are you investing in Ark ETF or in the company's investments? Yeah, so I just answered that as well. Okay, so here's some questions on the actual portfolio plan, right? I'm gonna give all of them. Mary said, what should I do if I'm in my late 60s? And how much would you have in each area of this pyramid going forward? We have Morigo who says, what is the difference between capital return and cash return, and the difference of ROI compared to return? And then we also had Carrier who says, we have Andy who says, is there an overview of each category and what they mean? So let me just answer all three of those questions together. I'm just going to share my screen again here. And what I'm going to do is just show you again on here that when we're looking at these different areas, and again, if you haven't gone through the full morning session we did today, just go and click and just watch the video, right? It's all on here at the moment, right? You just go watch this one. But in here, we basically show the difference of foundation assets, which is really like you're really holding this forever. And here's an explanation of it. Long-term growth assets, things like property, gold, silver. Bitcoin is in there as well if you're holding Bitcoin, right, for long-term. Wholesale assets are below fair value assets. So they're off market. Like this is where you happen to be in the know. You're acquired, like we just acquired $80 million of education companies last year. They weren't on the market when we actually went out to look for them. But we knew what we were looking for. So we could get them off market. We could get them at a much better value. And that's really important. If you're going retail price, not going to be so great. But this is like, just having a base where there's capital gains. And then you've got impact asset sectors like the ETFs we just saw, active trading, which is where you're now really wanting to trade more in the market, wholesale cash flow, early stage, which is now where it's like much higher risk, and expect you might lose all your money. It's okay, because you could also be going up 1,000 times, right? So you'll see that this pretty high percentage here. This is because we're doing quite a lot in pre-IPOs right now, and also there's pre-ICOs as well. We were actually sharing that on the call today, where we were going through where on the Reddit crypto board, where there's 2 million people on here already, where you can find really, really great opportunities. We went through and also showed how with the way that at the moment the markets are growing, you've actually got obviously the exchange where you can see all of the different cryptocurrencies, but also on CoinMarketCap you can see all the ICOs, right? So you can actually see today there were 3 ICOs all together. 1, 2's already happened. So if I go to this has ended, right? So that's ended yesterday. If I go to upcoming, these are the ones today, right? So this one are all March 31st, and you got a whole bunch on April 1st, and then so on. So so you can track along on these. Already on the call today, we talked about my crypto club, and we'll talk more about that on the session tomorrow as well. That you join there, they've actually got a whole ICO buyers club, right, where they basically all band together so that they're at the minimum to get the best price on those ICOs as well. So that's basically going for the high level. We're doing the same with IPOs as well. Obviously, we have an edtech company today, as far as like pre-IPO goes. Coursera is actually having this IPO. Today is the day, and they are actually they're about 10 times our size and they're actually at the moment raising 500 million at more like a $4 to $5 billion valuation, which is good for us, right? Because then basically as we're going towards our plans, we're going to be able to kind of use them as a benchmark, and the market obviously will use them as a benchmark as well. So understanding how things are happening when you start moving on something is really important and very exciting, because that's right at the top end of the pyramid here. And obviously wholesale cash flow, just like wholesale assets, is where you're actually almost off market or going social with lending. So tomorrow we got Simon, who's joining us. Simon Zucchi runs Crowd Property. This is his company that he launched. This is social lending, right? It's where you're actually getting people banding together, getting a really good deal. These guys are getting their money back in a couple of years or 6 months sometimes, getting 7.5% return. And they can do that because there's really good developments where everyone can just drop in anywhere from £1,000 upwards, and then basically know they're getting it's loan financing, so you're getting the cash flow from it, but it's actually not the kind of returns a bank is going to give you, right? And that's just because you happen to be in the right place, right time with the right team to make that happen as well. So on the question of if you're retiring at 60, which one should you do? Do not do high growth or momentum unless you're just looking for a new thrill. Go for a cash hedge, right? Do know that the dollar has lost 90% of its value against Bitcoin in the last 12 months. It's lost a lot more against Ethereum, right? So given that that's happened, why have your money in dollars? So have it hedged on things that are hedged against the dollar, right? That's what I would suggest. On the question of basically, how do you describe this? I've just done it there. And then from the point of view of how, let me just see what the other question was. We had a question here, which was the one on, an overview I've just done. Difference between capital return, ROI, because I actually did show that, and I want to do this again, because for some of you that missed before, the simplest portfolio plan, right, to actually just have it on a portfolio plan is this one here, where you can see, super simple, you have every asset, whether it's crypto, whether it's gold, whether it's bank account, you have what's your buy price, you have what is the gross asset value, as in if you sold it today, how much would you get? What's the leverage if you happen to have a loan on your property or on your shares, which I wouldn't recommend, but whatever it is, then what is that? And then what's the net asset value? If you sold it and paid back what you need to pay back, what do you got left? And then what's your cash return against your net asset value? So he said, should I put my home on here? Well, if you do, and it's costing you basically 60 grand in mortgage, and you've only got 600 grand there, that's not going to make it look good for your portfolio. That's why I don't put my home in my portfolio. But all these other ones like gold, you can see here, like this is what happened in just the last year. It went from like 16 to 17.5. And so like it's gone up 1.5, like that's the 9% change, right? Like, bank account's not going to change at all. Ethereum went from 13,200 to 182,000 in the last 12 months. So if you had put that on here and then you decided to take out 30,000 of that and leave 130,000 in, then this is the returns you'd be getting, right? So basically a return is the actual physical number, whereas ROI is the percentage. Right. So that's like, what is your return divided by what is your net asset value? And you should always have a target at the bottom so that you're not actually deciding to buy, sell, or cash out based on a particular asset. You're doing it based on the entire portfolio, right? And then you're making decisions on where you're going to do that to make sure you're hitting your portfolio number. And then the stress goes out of something going up or down because it just happens to be, something within that portfolio where you're balancing against the others, and you're still going to hit your numbers for the year. And the most important thing is have a 5-year plan so that you're not getting caught up in the day-to-day, but you can still be getting very, very good returns if you do it that way, right? So super important to be thinking in that way. Okay, just because I do have a bunch more questions, but I don't want to leave you all out who's listening right now. Let me just pull a couple here. I'm going to pull one from Andy. He just wrote this on YouTube. Question for Roger: how do you personally vet organizations or crypto initiatives you're thinking of investing in? Well, here's the reality, right? Like, don't get carried away by going for 1,000 different cryptocurrencies, right? I have mine in 10. And the way I do it is I go and I read up on the things that I think are the most valuable, or the ones that actually have the highest potential. And I actually do a lot of research, right? Because I find this interesting. So I'm in part of the Reddit community. There's a certain number of people that speak really well on crypto on YouTube that I actually watch as well. And then I'm watching the media, and then I'll do my research on the ones that I'm interested in. For me, EdTech is a really, really big part, right? So I'm also looking at what are the companies, and also this is one of the things that actually came up, which I want to share here. It was, and this is one of the questions I have here as well, which is, should I invest, in the likes of Tesla? In fact, who was it that asked that question? He said, should I invest in Tesla? Should I invest in MicroStrategy, right? Like that was the question, because that was one of the things that actually came up in our call. And just so you know, I have done exactly what Marcus said today, which is invest in the companies that are investing in Bitcoin or in cryptocurrencies, right? And the reason for that, someone also asked the question, what happens if Coinbase goes bankrupt? So I said, well, you lose your money, right? This is 6 disastrous cases. The biggest, most famous one was Mt. Gox, right? That just unbelievable, $473 million gone, right? So this is like not a good thing. And this is obviously back in the cowboy days, 2014, but they're not the only ones, right? There's a bunch of others, and they're all in the hundreds of millions, right? That got lost. We're in a different world now, right? It's not to say this might not still happen, but this happened as a result of just bad security and bad liquidity. Coinbase, which we talked about, they're actually about to have their IPO, and they're valuing themselves at $100 billion, or the market is. This is not a company about to go bankrupt, right? So, so can they go bankrupt? Absolutely, they can. But there's 2 ways to protect yourself. The first one, get with the companies that actually are more capitalized. And the second one, don't have your money sitting on the exchange, right? So that was one of the things that we actually talked about. How do you actually make sure that you've got a wallet? And more importantly, how do you actually do this in such a way that you can actually keep that wallet offline? We went through exactly how to do that. Marcus explained that and showed you how he does that as well. So do basically, take precautions, right? But that would happen. The second thing is the question around the companies. Like, how do you actually choose the right the right cryptocurrencies to go into, and how do you actually choose the right companies to invest in? I'm actually choosing right now that 18% of all my money is in Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. It's just in those 2, and that's because those ones by far have been growing most solidly. And others will jump up and they might jump down as well. But because of the adoption rate, right? We just saw this. It went up $150 billion yesterday in market cap because Visa and PayPal both said they're now going to be accepting Bitcoin, right? Which is phenomenal, right? And this is all just yesterday that this happened. So just knowing that basically if you're right on the leading edge with the top ones, you're going to be pretty safe, and then start learning about the other ones as you go as well. We were talking about the companies. These 3 companies, I'm invested in all 3 of them. They invested $3.9 billion in Bitcoin. Obviously, Tesla, they invested 1.5. We were just talking about MicroStrategy. It says 2 billion. Their amount is worth over 3 billion now, right? I mean, like these guys are they're going to show when their quarterly numbers come out that they made more money. Tesla made more money from their Bitcoin gain than they made from their cars, right? Like it is a phenomenal world that we're living in. But when you've got the people who are running these companies being this sharp with what they're doing, they're going to be doing other stuff that's sharp as well. So I'm investing in not just because they happen to be thinking about this and actually hedging against the dollar this way. They're going to be doing this with other parts of the business. So Square is a good example, right? What Jack Dorsey has done by, like, he did this like in the third quarter of 2020, right? He acquired Bitcoin when it was half the price it is today. And so he's done really well with that. But the fact that, as I mentioned today, he's right up there at the front of NFT. You probably heard the very first tweet ever. Was he sold it as an NFT for however much, 2.9 million, right? So 2.9 million for a tweet, right? So he did that just what, like, 23rd of March, right? That was this month, last week. And like I was sharing about how he has bought Jay-Z's company, and Jay-Z's now on the board because he sees NFTs basically like transforming the way music works. So he actually will end up becoming like here, NFT Boom Explains Square's title buy. This allows him basically to create the entire ecosystem where you can buy music using cryptocurrencies. You can trade using it as well. And so, yeah, I'm invested in those companies, but they're not the only ones, right? Here's the 9 public companies with the biggest Bitcoin portfolios. So this includes MicroStrategy, we mentioned already. Includes, I'll drop this link in a second, Tesla we just mentioned, and obviously Square is going to be on here as well. But you've also got Galaxy Digital. You've got some funds like Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, which you saw that Ark was invested in. And then you've also got a number of others like, CoinShares, Buffer Investment, Bitcoin Fund. These are all basically groups that are actually out there acquiring pretty dramatically as well. And they're all in the same way that, like, one way to invest in gold is invest in gold companies, right? So you're actually going beyond just basically the commodity itself. And then, of course, it means that you're then going to be enjoying the multiples that come with a company that's growing rapidly. And it's a multiple on a multiple when that happens as well. Okay, so let me continue with some of the other questions here. I'm going to come to another question on YouTube first, and then I'll come back to the questions that were asked here. I got a question here. And sorry if I missed your question, by the way. We will capture them and then come back to them a little bit later. We've got a guy here who says, I'm interested to invest in crowd property, but I don't live in the UK. Do you have recommendations for any other platforms similar to crowd property? Yes, I do. So we have quite a number of people in our community who set up their companies 4 or 5 years ago based on the things I was saying at that point, where I said DeFi will have its biggest disruption in property. We're going to talk about that on tomorrow's session, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock UK time inside the Facebook group with Simon. And so at the same time that Simon set up his company, yeah, I'll just share it here. Where is my share button again? Okay, so in the same time that Simon set up his company, Scott Picken, set up his as well. So his company is called Wealth Migrate, and he's based in South Africa, actually. And Scott actually used to be just a property investor, and then he was working with property developers. He says, you know what, the future is going to be in property crowdfunding. So he set up this company, and he actually does trades in investments in Africa, in Asia, in Australia, in Europe, UK, and in US. And you go, well, how's it possible to do investments in all of them? They went out and got the investment licenses, the property licenses in all those countries, right? They did that over the years. They've got 133 countries where members come from. They've already invested over $90 million. They've basically got like $500 million in deal value. And what's different about what he's doing compared to what Simon's doing is that he's doing equity funding, so up from $5,000 and up, and he's doing commercial properties. So you can see here, senior living, so basically aged care homes, as well as hospitals are some of the biggest areas. So commercial properties, which are giving like commercial returns, but actually it's just a whole group of people coming together. He's the one who recommended me to have our first IPO in Seychelles, because he actually took a whole bunch of these different properties and he IPO'd them. He actually turned them into a company that then was listed on the exchange, and that then led the Seychelles exchange to say, you know what, we want to be a crypto exchange, because like everything that when you buy, even just one of these lots for 5,000, you get it on the blockchain, which means that basically you can buy and sell that lot as well, right? There's other ones like Realty Mogul or like Fundrise, which are in the US, right? But this is actually the only true global one. So go connect with Scott. He also, he'll be in our summit that we're having, right? So he's going to be sharing his story of how he did this. And what's super exciting is that a lot of the people that came and invested with him also invested in the company itself. So he got all his seed funding from internal investors, and they actually have got their own group where they kind of share about global fintech with property as well, which is super exciting. So anyway, that answers that question. Let me get to a couple more here. And I have a sense I'm going to be going over my 30 minutes again, just because of all the questions coming up here. All right, so let's come on to a couple here. There's one from Genius Central, right? So just in case you guys did not know, And I'll give you a question. I'll tell you what Genie Central is. So this is from Nathaniel, right, in Singapore. He says, do you think the rollout of central bank digital currencies will devalue crypto, right? Which is a really good question. So, so if you haven't actually seen this, this is actually kind of funny because like I have these different businesses that all have kind of come together in the group. And one of them is Genie Central Singapore, right? So Genie Central Singapore is basically, here it is on Facebook, right? It's won all these awards for awesome food. And it's there in the middle of Singapore and the central business district. And it has all these different, like obviously you can see kids' activities because it's Easter weekend coming up and so on. And they've got like just like all these community, like it's basically co-working, but it's the opposite of WeWork, right? WeWork gives you bad beer for free, gets you to pay for the space, right? Whereas with us, you get the space for free and you get really good beer that you pay for, right? So, and it actually is really profitable the way it works. But basically we are actually running this whole program here live in Genie Central, right? So there's a whole group there that actually is meeting there every morning and actually watching, and they're actually asking questions as well, which is super cool. So hi, Nathaniel, I'm sure you'll be watching this as well. And to answer your question, no one knows, right, for sure, but I'll give you my opinion. And again, because we are on YouTube and this is public, this is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving any prediction, which is going to be liable to me or you. But I will say this, that there is always going to be a knock-on effect. As they say, you know, good press, bad press, any press is good publicity, right? Because when people start actually adopting digital currencies, whether it is the digital yuan, whether it's the digital euro, when that happens and everyone starts using that, of course, all the platforms will do that too. Then, of course, people are going to realize, you know, wait a minute, isn't this still the government just printing as much money as they want, right? There's no control on this. But at the same time, everyone's going to be using digital anyway. And so, of course, they'll then move on to, you know, other cryptocurrencies that actually are more valuable for them, whether it's like Bitcoin, which like operates like gold and it's more a store of value, or whether it's something like Ethereum, which holds contracts and creates entire ecosystems like NFTs. You know, this basically is about us realizing, you know, the central bank only has one reason to create a central bank currency, which is digital, which is that they still want to control the money system. And it's actually, it's impossible, right? Like the horse is bolted. It's too late for them to try and control it. And I gave the example of England trying to control the pound money supply in the US when the US basically started getting its independence. It's like, no, too late. You can't do it anymore. And then US actually became a nation way more powerful than the United Kingdom. Same is going to happen with metaverse, with hyperspace, right? We're going to see the same thing happen where the governments have no way to control it. Right. And even if they try and control it, guess what's going to happen? Elon Musk with his satellites are going to say, hey, be a citizen out here in space, register your bank account and your company up here in space as well. And then there's not going to be a single government who's going to have that jurisdiction over you. Right. So this is the world that we're going to get to. Expect bankruptcies of cities and governments when they realize no one's there to pay their taxes anymore. And we're already seeing, you know, citizens or communities coming together say, I'd much rather, you know, find ways to make a difference in the world with my money without having to go through the inefficiencies of government to get there. So we're seeing a whole different, this is a social revolution, not just a financial revolution that's happening right now. Okay, let's take a couple more questions from here, and then I'm going to come over to more on the YouTube chat as well. Here is one. This is a good one. Talking about basically to what extent does before I get to the staking one, there's one here which is Roger, will you be doing an ICO for Genie Coin, right? So we have got Genie Coin, which basically is effectively like a stable dollar. Someone asked this question also about another of the stable dollars. Which one was it? I think it was Tether. They were saying, like, what do you think of Tether? Well, Tether is a stable coin. Stable coin basically is just tied to a currency like a US dollar. It's not great, right? Because basically, you know, they're going to print as much as they want. If the US dollar goes down, guess what? The stable coin goes down as well. So it's not that great. We're using Genie Coin to begin with as basically just a means of exchange, but eventually we will turn it into a cryptocurrency. And when we do that, we will have an ICO. We just got to make sure that we're like, because of our kind of growth plans and what we're going to be doing with the SEC, we need to make sure that kind of we go through all of their regulations before we do that. But we also have got our GEMS, which is not a security token, which has to have basically compliance with security laws because it is a currency. GEMS are a utility token, and the difference of the two is a utility token is like air miles, it's loyalty points you basically earn it on a system, and then you can sell it, you spend on that system, just like, in-game money. That's quite different from basically a currency like Bitcoin or Ether, which you can actually trade in and out of other currencies, right? And so because of that, basically we don't have the same regulations on our gems. And we're treating gems, like talking about EdTech, we're treating gems as basically education credits. Just like when you go to high school, you have a diploma, you go to university and you have a degree. And with our Genius Education, that's exactly what you can do. Get a US university degree. We're launching that in September. You get credits all the way through. You then qualify and you get the degree. But now you got the credits, right? The credits don't disappear. You can now spend them on the system and actually use them for all of your ongoing education as you go forward as well, right? And that's how education should be. It should not be something where basically you leave with a massive student loan. It should be that you're actually making good money by the time you're leaving, because all that learning is already adding value to the people who are going to be learning after you, right? Like that's the plan behind it. Okay, let's just see what the questions we have here. And I'm just going to share my screen so you can see as well. I'd love for everyone on here to just post whatever's been biggest learning so far, right? So I'm just going to write that as well, what's been biggest learning already. All right. This might be a bit freaky seeing me double here, but here we go. And then I got here, anyone know what crypto Bulgaria uses most or primarily? Okay, that's a very interesting question. But someone was actually asking about Philippines as well, actually. They were like saying, like, how do I go about trading? A different question, but how do I go about trading in the Philippines? One thing that is really important around all of this is knowing that everything is at the touch of a fingertip. I mean, I don't need to teach you guys how to Google, but like with the Philippines, like this happened when I was in Singapore. I was like, where is the best place, right? So best way to, here we go, buy crypto because Philippines, actually, like most other places, has already got the local like apps that are there, right? So you can already have a number of places and exchanges. Coins.ph I've used before, right? So because I've been in the Philippines, this is a Philippine company, obviously, where it's very, very easy to trade Bitcoin on here. But Coinbase now is in so many different countries. Let me just show you Coinbase Philippines. And Coinbase Pro as well, right? Yeah, so Coinbase is already in the Philippines. It's in over 100 countries. So you can use Coinbase there. And this is the Coinbase site, kind of just explaining you know, about the Philippines as well, right? And then Coinbase Pro also you can be getting from anywhere, right? Crypto is not so much about a particular country, right? So basically like the idea of, you know, being in Bulgaria, right? And then basically if you wanted to trade crypto, right? I just put Bitcoin in, right? And then see what kind of things show up. There's going to be already just different platforms for you to do that. 9 exchanges to buy crypto and Bitcoin in Bulgaria. So here they are. These are the big ones, right? eToro is one of them. You can see that Bitpanda is another one, which is European, right? Which are all there as well. But the whole point here is that countries are not issuing their own digital currencies yet, right? That is going to change that's wrong. Like obviously China has with the digital yuan. Oh, by the way, if you guys don't know about what's going on with the digital yuan right now, it is super crazy at how much they're actually growing it at the moment. Over Chinese New Year, they've already done 4 trials and is going to the point where before the West knows what's even happened, they're going to take over as the global digital currency. It is growing so quickly at the moment, and it's actually moving at a pace where basically it's now going global as the next step, right? And they're doing it so quietly. You know how quick the virus hit the world once it actually left China. Like we're going to see something faster than that when it comes to the digital yuan, right? So just be ready for it. Know it's going to happen, and when that does, then say goodbye to US dollar, right? I mean, that's the reality. Why would anyone hold money in US dollar if there's already another currency you can trade with? And China's already quietly doing deals with Europe and Asia to get onto their digital standard in a way that America is way, way, way behind on that, right? So scary times ahead, but just know that that's all going to be happening as well. Okay, I'm just going to take, I think, like 3 more questions, right? So let me just take the ones that are on here as well. I'm going to go through and have a look here. I will pull a couple from the beginning. Okay, we've got Jane saying, Roger, thanks for all this. I've now got a 5-year plan, beginnings to put together my 300-year plan. Awesome, very cool. We've got here another thanks from Chandresh, which is awesome. And then we got Jules learned that owning 0.25, 0.3 of a Bitcoin would put an investor in the top 1% of Bitcoin holders. Yeah, exactly, right? Imagine when it becomes 0.00001. Okay, so we've got a whole bunch of stuff here. I'm going to get to the question. Here's one. Okay, so why invest in ETFs as opposed to directly in cryptos? Okay, so cryptos are different from ETFs, right? The ETFs we were talking about were specifically electronic traded funds for companies, right? Whereas with cryptos, you're going to be directly investing in them. I mean, there are baskets and funds which you can invest in multiple, but if the question is why invest in an ETF instead of just like Tesla, right? It's for exactly that reason, that when you've got really smart people out there that are running an ETF, which is better than a fund, by the way. Funds have huge fees, so everyone's getting off funds anyway. But an ETF, basically an electronic traded fund, is where you basically are saying, hey, we're doing all the trading, we're deciding what to buy and what to sell, just tag along with us and we'll charge you 0.75%. That's all they're saying, right? And so you're getting best brains in the world working 9 to 5 for you, right? Or maybe 24 hours a day for you with their bots to actually get a better return than you're going to get on your own. And so if you actually, unless you want to actively trade all the time, it does make sense to either do that or to be investing in a similar way that they do. A lot of people do that with, let's say, for example, the Dow Jones average, right? Where instead they'll either go into an index fund, which is tracking it, or they'll say, right, I'll just take the top 10 and I'll just average across them in my investments. And then I can just leave it and basically, let other smarter people do all the hard work and just be in there for the long term, right? Which is fine. Okay, so we got here, Dwayne says, can you help me understand the steps for buying and storing crypto and the why at each of these steps? Yeah, we went through all of that on the call this morning, right? So just follow the link. I'm going to give you the link again to this thing. I'm going to drop it in here. Here is the link. Just go watch it, right? Because we go through step by step. These are the places to go. These are the wallets to get. These are the exchanges to join as our preferences, and then what you can be doing from there as well. Just follow that along. Okay, final question we're going to get to here. This is from, I think, another, this is from Clay. Clay says something. He says, I asked because the poverty population issue crypto. I don't know what the question is there. Sorry, guys. I think you must have had a different one. Oh, sorry, that was Bulgaria. Okay, I got you, Clay. They said, ask because the poverty population there is an issue. Crypto is currency to purchase goods, services. It keeps the government out and banks, which both are greedy. Okay. Hey, you know what? Like there is at the moment, like some really, really amazing programs that are actually going on in the world at the moment, which is like, for example, with UBI in Africa, right? This is happening. And UBI is universal basic income, and the kind of programs that people are actually running using digital currencies. And actually now, in terms of solutions, which are actually starting to use also digital currencies where people are actually using them off the back of other programs out there as well. So zeropoverty.io is one of them that you can actually have a look at. And there's some other programs that are actually working out there as well, which are really, really, really worth having a look to see just what people are up to and what they're doing. Here, let me just show you this one. This one is just a little link here that I have where you can kind of see what is possible when we start using decentralized currency in a way that works for everybody, right? Like this one here, like 3 different ways that you can actually be using cryptocurrency to end poverty, right? Sending aid without corruption, because obviously it allows you to do that. Tracking food, right? Through the blockchain, so that actually works as well. And then in terms of like crypto banking, right? And how that works. So this one here, US based BankU, are using blockchain technology to help the unbanked by creating financial alternatives. But like BankU is like huge right now, right? Like, so these guys, yeah, let me just actually go and just see as a company. This is not showing here, but this is like this. I mean, this is great, right? Digital Ledger helps small farmers get a fair deal, where basically it's just bypassing the corruption that happens in certain countries and actually allows you to do it. So go have a look at BankU and what they're already doing in Zambia, right? It's super awesome. And there's no reason you couldn't start a program with something like this in Bulgaria as well. We're going to see lots of these kind of programs out there, which is what I'm so excited about as we're going forward. I will kind of come back and answer some of these other questions afterwards, right? I want to do that too. But do post whatever's been biggest learning you got from this call so far. And do know that tomorrow we are going to be talking with Simon, the founder of Crowd Property. Simon also is the founder of Property Investors Network. So if you are interested in property and the fact that it is in boom years right now, this is Simon's site where he has got basically like meetings. And they're all virtual right now, but there's meetings with meeting hosts all over the UK. And this allows you to actually say, well, like in any city, what's going on in the property market? And these are all the ones going on in April right now. This Simon's company, this is one of the companies that we have acquired. So we're now part of the same group. which is very exciting. So you're going to kind of hear about what he's doing, what he's up to, and the way he's looking at global property right now, and what are the top strategies you can be using, especially when it comes to DeFi and crowdfunding. And actually, we're going to see more and more when NFTs start linking with property. It's not just going to be digital assets you can be buying fractionally. It's also going to be real hard assets you can actually buy using NFTs as well, which is very, very exciting. So I hope everyone has got some great value. I actually happened to be exactly the same time as yesterday, 43 minutes on. I hope you've enjoyed this. Do come connect with us tomorrow. Thanks again for showing up here, and we'll catch up with you all later. All right, guys. See you later.